Gamers! This is Simply Travis for a special Sidequest edition of the Lamer Gamers podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Inside Xbox May 2020 edition, which featured gameplay of various Xbox Series X games. I'll give you a short summary of what each game was, and really the video of what it was, describe its graphical appearance along with my impressions, and discern whether we really saw gameplay or not. Afterwards, I'll read an explanation given by each developer of what the game is, provided by Inside the Xbox Wire, the official Xbox news things at news.xbox.com. Now, let's travel through time to solve puzzles at sea. Then when we finish that, we'll blast off into space to find a planet where we can go off-road racing, but get stopped by what appears to be a very pretty floral arrangement, turn sentient, and some monster that obviously does not fit in his armor very well. Just when we think that our luck has run out, mutant dinosaurs run out and eat the nefarious flowers, causing distraction, allowing us to run into a house full of creepy monsters and even creepier music. We turn around to escape the house only to be surrounded by Vikings, vampires, and Yakuza. There's no more running now. It looks like we're going to have to fight our way out in this special Sidequest edition of the Lamer Gamers podcast. Are you ready, Damer? Are you ready, Lamer? To arms! Now, before I get started, if you like what we're doing, don't forget to press up, up, down, down, left, right, be a start, then like and subscribe. Also, check out at LamerGamersCast on Twitter and throw a review down on Apple Podcast or Podchasers. So, everyone has been waiting to see what next-gen gaming will look like, and on May 7th, we finally got a small, little bitty taste of what gaming devs have been cooking up. Now, this definitely was not a big meaty steak of a gaming presentation. It was more like a ham and cheese Lunchable with a generic Oreo added for the end. It was packed in a way to grab your attention and had way too much filler for added flavor, leaving a lot of not-so-hardcore Xbox fans feeling a bit cheapened and bloated. I know I looked on Reddit, and one of the top things on the Xbox One Reddit right now is that, where's the gameplay that was in this? So we're going to look through, and I know not technically look, but I'm going to go through, talk about each game, what was shown in the video, and go from there. So, let's go ahead and get started with Bright Memory Infinite. Now, depending on how you look at it, it almost looks like Bright Infinite Memory. But this is created by a group called Playism and specifically developed by FYQD. Now, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if something's being lost in translation because this is a Chinese company, but there has been some saying that this is created by one dude. So we'll see if that's true. There looks like a lot of different graphical things going on. It could be true. We'll see what happens. So starting in the video, the graphics look fantastic. This is our first game right out the bat. There's a lot of blurring going on in places, so I'm not sure how it's going to look without so much movement. Okay, it's definitely first person. You start by swimming up to a dock and then knocking some dude out. You go and keep fighting. You run along a wall. There's no HUD though. And that's usually one thing whenever you're showing gameplay, you see a heads-up display, and if that's not there, a lot of the times it's bullshot. Now, bullshot is a term that basically means that it's what it could look like under the best circumstances. And you see that a lot by game developers. Now, it also sounds like another term that's about the same. Anyway, now, as far as the no HUD, though, there is a gun that he picks up, and it has a bullet count, so maybe that's going to be the HUD in-game. However, I would still expect us to see a health bar or something else, but that could not, it might not need it, because a lot of games, they show that kind of red around the character as they get hurt. So you're in what appears to be outside a traditional Oriental-style building, and apparently you can use a sword. It's like a techno sword, and you can slide around. So one thing that looks really good about this game is the movement. I'm a big fan of having good movement in a first-person shooter. So that's interesting. There's also some sort of grappling hook beam that shoots out of your arm that appears to be used on anything instead of certain latch points like you see in a lot of games. But it doesn't go so well for the character when he uses it. He gets knocked down and the game shows mud on the screen, and you look up to find what appears to be some sort of Roman centurion with shield and sword. Now, I gotta say, that's got to be some tough shield because it protected this dude from your bullets. Now, as he's coming to swing his sword down, the protagonist parries the incoming downward slash with some fancy techno sword, and it pushes him back. And he flies into the sky and stays in place like he's in stasis, or time has frozen. And he gets knocked around in the sky. You see him be pushed back and then pull him back in with the grappling hook. So apparently you can pull off some sort of combos. It looks like it might involve the parrying system. Like if you hit the parry just right, as if you're in like Sekiro or even Assassin's Creed games, it might pull up some extra stuff you can do. Let's see. Also, I didn't see a reticule on screen. Now, whenever you're using the gun, you look through the scope, or not the scope, I'm sorry, the reticule. I can't brain today. But you kind of look up through the gun and the sights. That's the word I'm looking for. Maybe I need another sip of this coffee. All right, let's see if brain juice helps. Okay, so you look through the sights, and that seems to be the way that you're aiming. I'm not sure. Looks a lot like bullshot to me. It looks like what the game could play like. Now, towards the end, he presses a button, and a car pulls up, and it looks like it's something out of... almost reminded me of the DeLorean at first, from Back to the Future. And when you get into the car, you drive off and you get slammed by this armored car and it flips you. A woman's voice yelps and the video ends. So I'm assuming you're a female protagonist. You can't really tell because it's first person. Also, I'm seeing some talk about this being developed by one person. We'll see. They talk about taking a lot of references from a bunch of different things. Now, with it being developed by one person, it could be the case that these are going to be very much corridor-based gameplay instead of open world. It kind of alludes to more of an open world, but I could definitely see them doing scripted gameplay. The graphics look great in those spots. And you hit invisible walls or some sort of issue due to the time-space continuum as an excuse to go no further, because essentially it alludes to you playing through memories or mix mashing of memories of different people. Let's go ahead and see what the developer has to say. So this is by Xing Jiangxin, a developer at Playism. I'm so excited to have the chance to announce to the world that my indie game Bright Memory Infinite will officially be released on the Xbox Series X once development is complete, and it is very humbling to witness the advent of Microsoft's next-generation console and what it can do. Today I'd like to fill everyone in on some of the more interesting details and features in the game. Bright Memory Infinite is set in a sprawling, futuristic metropolis in the year 2036. The player will take on the role of Shelia. So I was right, it's female. A member of the Supernatural Science Research Organization, an organization in possession of more advanced science and technology than even the military. BMI is full of breath, so I guess that's going to be what they're going to call it, is full of breathtaking fun and exciting action, such as navigating a spaceship that can travel through time, battling ancient samurai displaced from 1,000 years ago to the present, and exploring a wormhole that has appeared on Earth. It says that there is high-speed combat. By now, I'm sure everyone has seen Bright Memory Infinite's appearance on Inside Xbox. In addition to the deep and rich story, another main feature of the game is its adrenaline-pumping gameplay design. With the way I've designed the battle system, players can experience lightning-fast combat using a variety of skills to create their own personalized style of fighting. Basically, any skills can be combined and will generate different effects when utilized, and it's up to the player to figure out how to best use these skills both in and out of battle. Some skills can be used to overcome certain obstacles or solve certain puzzles, be it in combat or while exploring the futuristic world. The quality of the graphics of Bright Memory Infinite for the Xbox Series X is the aspect I focused most on throughout the game's development. In order to truly harness and show off the abilities of the next-gen system, this can particularly be seen in the wormholes appearing in the game. I've also made use of the dramatic visual effects made possible by the XSX, which can be seen in dynamic scenes in the wind, rain, leaves, and pebbles are visibly sucked toward a wormhole as the player explores their surrounding. The stunning visual effects are possible thanks to the DirectX ray tracing on the Xbox Series X. So yeah, you can see they're using a lot of light. There's some imagery that shows the light usage in this game. It looks pretty great. There's some nice reflections going on whenever you see lanterns on the light hits wet wood, and you can actually see it reflecting the background into it. Some really nice visual effects in here. I can't wait to show the game to players all around the world. Please stay tuned for more. So, sorry. It looks good. Now, with a lot of indie games, you know, it's usually small scale. We'll see if this is a much larger scale in the end. But even the stills of this game look fantastic. Now, I will say the trees have some weird, like, flat polygon stuff going on compared to the absolutely, really, they did a really good job on wet planks of wood. I don't know what what focus is on that, but that seems where they really focus their art direction. All right, guys, we are going to go on to the next game, Call of the Sea Out of the Blue. And first impressions while watching this video, it starts out with a woman going, "Oh, Harry, what have you done?" And that's how we're introduced. There's a woman holding up a picture of the pair, I guess Harry and her. We then find ourselves walking through a tropical island with only a few inhabitants and what appears to be kind of like tribal architecture of the place. The graphics remind me a lot of Sea of Thieves, but a little more cartoony, which Sea of Thieves was fairly cartoony. This may be, you know, from the realm of realism to cartoon graphics, knock it over to the cartoon graphics like two pegs. And that's where you're at. Now, it's going to be a walking simulator mixed with puzzles. You know, it's not going to be hardcore action gameplay. I don't even expect you to go around on a ship unless you're just walking around the ship trying to be Miss Marple finding clues to something. So, it ends with, "What did you find here, Harry?" Well, apparently I'm guessing we're going to find out. Let's see what the gameplay developers say. Now, this is from Tatiana Delgado, game director and co-founder of Out of the Blue. Our upcoming game, Call of the Sea, was announced today on Inside Xbox, and we're so incredibly happy to reveal it to you. Honestly, it feels as if our deep hidden secret has finally been revealed. The first clue that will lead you to the shores of a nameless island in the South Pacific. There, we hope you will soon take your first steps into an amazing adventure. We have worked on this first-person adventure puzzle game for a year and we're still in development. But our goal is to bring a wonderful mystery to you before the end of the year. So this will be on around launch. Out of the Blue is a brand new studio of 12 veteran game developers hailing from Madrid, Spain. While most of us are based in Spain, other members of the team are in Greece and the US. We previously worked on a bunch of games before joining forces, so that they have a high caliber of games they've worked on, right? So they've worked on Red Matter, Metroid, Samus Returns, Deadlight, Guilt, Celeste, Guacamelee 2, ooh, that's a surprise, and Space Lord. So, Call of the Sea is our first game together, and it is an otherworldly adventure that takes place in the 1930s. It is a story-driven game that lets you take on the role of Nora, a woman who has crossed an ocean in a desperate search of her husband, who has gone missing on an expedition. And amazingly enough, we have the luck of having actress Cissy Jones as the voice of Nora. We adored her acting in Firewatch. By the way, if you haven't played Firewatch, go play that. I kind of dogged on walking simulators. There are some good ones out there. Dear Esther, Firewatch. They're good games. Don't get me wrong. But if you're looking for action games and these inside Xbox things, there's so much action. Some of these things don't play too well. Anyway, especially her ability to create a strong presence with only her voice, conveying emotions to make the character feel so alive and close. That is what we wanted for our main character, Nora, because we want you, as a player, to care for her and share her emotions. We are striving for a calmer, deeper, and more intelligent love story between Nora and her husband, a relationship that we feel is too rarely portrayed in games. So why are we creating a puzzle-based first-person adventure game? Well, we on the dev team grew up with both adventure and puzzle games, and we love them to pieces. Games like Firewatch, Subnautica, Red Matter, Myst, Soma, and Abduction were definitely sources of inspiration for us. You might say that The Call of the Sea is our love letter to the genre, and a way of deepening our own experience and adding new dimensions to it. We hope to create a game for everyone out there that carries a nostalgic torch for the genre and for new players that have yet to discover the joy of adventure games with puzzle solving. Okay, so this says it'll be adventure. We'll see. Now, I am seeing a picture on the screen that shows something in their hand that might be a weapon, but I'm not sure. Now, you might be asking yourself, an otherworldly adventure game? What do you really mean by that? Well, not only do we absolutely love adventure games, we also have a secret passion for the supernatural and the occult. In fact, we're all huge H.P. Lovecraft fans and are inspired by his work. To be clear, Call of the Sea is not a horror game. Far from it. But you might say that we are inspired by the way Lovecraft tells some of his stories. We want you to solve the mystery we have created, slowly realizing that there is more to the world than meets the eye, and piecing together what has taken place before you arrived on the island. We're after the sensation that comes when the mind tries to grasp a solution that lingers, tantalizingly almost within reach. During your journey into Call of the Sea, we want to awaken your curiosity. You will discover remnants of a lost civilization and occult secrets while searching for clues about what fate has befallen the expedition. You will also begin to realize that things are not all as they first seem. On occasions, reality will suddenly become distorted and surreal. So this looks, honestly, their explanation was pretty darn good. It kind of makes me want to play it now. I'm curious to see what the action is, though, because there's so many games to play right now. I just don't see myself trying it or, honestly, dropping the money on it for a next-gen system unless I feel like I'm going to get my time out of it. Of course, if you are into those games and that is your thing, it looks interesting. It sounds like the people making the game are extremely impassioned about it, too. That's what's really nice. All right, let's move on to Chorves. Or I thought it was Chorves. The logo for this game kills me. That U is a freaking V. It's supposed to be chorus, but it looks like Chorves. Now, maybe they're making some reference to an old Roman style of writing or something, but visually it doesn't really make sense because there are plenty of curves in the other letters, so I don't know why they did that. Anyway, I don't want to get hung up on design. Otherwise, we'll spend an entire side quest on bad logo design. So let's just keep going. Now, this does look like a decent space shooter. It kind of reminds me of a Star Fox, or as I put in my note, other game. Look it up. Whoops, forgot to do that. But it looks like a good space shooter in that style. Now, there seems to be a decent amount of action, but they peppered in some sort of psychological horror or hallucinogenic storytelling during the demo. But hey, guess what? I think we actually saw gameplay. We're third one in, and we're finally seeing something that I think is gameplay. Now, once again, no HUD. I don't know if there was a HUD on any of these things. But the movements look like they were done with a joystick. So that's what I'm thinking. Now, they could be like keeping the HUD from showing to let people know what the graphics look like, but it's always tricky. So, graphics overall look great, but nothing all that groundbreaking, to be honest. It looks like it'd be fantastic on the big screen with HDR. If they used ray tracing in it, which all these games, I don't know if they are using ray tracing or not. I think I know the first game was, because they said it. But we'll see what the devs actually have to say. So, this is made by Deep Silver Fish Labs. I love that name. Let's see. Now, this will also have smart delivery. So you can buy it on Xbox One, and it will be on the Xbox Series S. All right. In Chorus, players take control of dual protagonist, ex-cultist Nara, an ace pilot with a haunted past, and Forsaken, a sentient AI starfighter and her closest ally with a mysterious backstory of his own to unravel. This story-driven single-player experience invites gamers to unlock devastating weapons and mind-bending abilities as they fight to free the galaxy from the Circle. It's an oppressive cult that will stop at nothing to ensure complete subjugation. Now, from the beginning, our focus has been on delivering amazing minute-to-minute gameplay to evolve the spirit of classic space flight shooters. By the way, guys, I forgot to mention, this is by Tobias Severin, a studio development director at Deep Silver Fish Labs. All right. We are fully leveraging the power of Xbox Series X hardware, along with us creating richer and more detailed ray-traced environments. So yeah, ray tracing is happening on this one. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the lighting effects work from like the suns and the stars and things like that on the ships. All right. Lead Nara, an ace pilot facing her haunted past, and Forsaken, her sentient ship. Their quest for redemption will take them across the galaxy and beyond the boundaries of reality as they fight to unite resistance forces against the Circle and their leader, the Great Prophet, at all costs. Little generic sounding. It looks interesting, though. Names are kind of silly. Enter a dark new universe teeming with mystery and rife with conflict. Explore epic locations including sprawling space stations and strange planes of existence beyond our own. Engage in exhilarating zero-G dogfights from epic cosmic vistas to tight crystalline corridors. Star Fox, right? Yeah. Chorus balances the scale and spectacle of space exploration with frenetic, fast-paced action. Attain powerful and distinct weapons and combat upgrades. Master your ship's unique drift mechanic and deadly mind-bending abilities, including extrasensory perception, teleportation, and telekinesis. Those are fun in a space shooter. To overcome massive hordes of enemies and take down titanic battleships. Chain your powers together to become the ultimate living weapon. So, sounds interesting. I mean, a lot of it sounds kind of generic, but there's some little twists in there that could be fun. All right, next up, Dirt 5. Now, Dirt 5 is nice enough to show the words captured in engine at the bottom. So we're at least looking at the engine of the game. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's playing on the Xbox Series X. It might be playing on a dev kit, or it might be playing on a computer with similar hardware. And, well, wow, it's still an off-road racing game. Lots of weather effects shown. I also feel like I need to wipe off the screen with all the mud and water going on. Lots of particle effects, it seems. They also show off some snowy places and lighting effects, but overall nothing that would make you absolutely lose your mind comparing it to other racing games like Dirt 4 or Forza. What will be nice, though, all these games have to have 4K at 60 frames per second. At a bare minimum is what Series X is pushing. Now, I know that whenever I played some racing games on the Xbox One X, I really enjoy seeing them in 4K, but they all pretty much force you down to 30 frames per second, Forza especially, which doesn't end well. I'm much better at crashing my cars in 4K than racing them. Honestly, though, I won't lie. I'm much better at randomly driving around looking at the scenery and crashing my cars in any simulation-based racing game nowadays than actual racing. I'm much more of what you would call an arcade racing fan. I grew up on things like Cruisin' USA and Burnout. Oh, I love me some Burnout. So, let's go ahead and see what the devs have to say. Now, this isn't so much by a dev, it's by... Oh, it is, okay. Chris Groves, the social and community manager at Codemasters. So it's the guy that makes everything sound extra fancy, right? Fresh out of the box from the latest Inside Xbox, myself and the whole Codemasters teams are delighted to reveal Dirt 5 to the world. but especially you, launching this year on both Xbox One and Xbox Series X. For a while now, our dedicated development team in Cheshire, UK, has been under the hood of this machine, turning a concept into reality. Well, gaming reality. You get what I mean. That concept to make the... I don't like the way this is written already. To make the boldest, bravest, most stylish off-road racing game ever made, where intense competitive action is just the beginning of what blows you away in Dirt 5. It's extra fluffy, right? To the uninitiated who might not be clued up on the legacy of Dirt, let's go for a drive. All the way back to 1998 when Colin McRae Rally brought the world of off-road racing into the mainstream. With the series morphing into Dirt in 2007, it's delivered high-impact racing ever since. Most recently through brutal, ultra-realistic Dirt Rally 2.0. This time around with Dirt 5, we're doing things a little... differently. Take a peek at our announced trailer, first revealed exclusively during the Inside Xbox, and you'll see what we mean. Stunning races. I'm not going to read all these things. Dynamic routes. That is cool. So there will be dynamic routes that go in. I always like that in game where things change up in extreme conditions. We want to go bigger in all ways possible. Take Career, which hands you a deep story-based mode with a star-studded cast led by the legendary Troy Baker and Nolan North. These legendary voices of gaming and some familiar names from the car culture world lay out a story with decision-based changes and a proper narrative to get your teeth into. There's the franchise's deepest livery editor and in-race photo mode where you can show off your creative side. Then you've got the 12-player multiplayer action with playful objective-based modes, the 4-player split screen for offline frolics with your pals. That is not how I expected you to say this. Who is going to get a racing game to go frolicking? I think it's really funny, though, honestly. That's hilarious. And even more brand new features we'll be revealing soon. I'm basically listing stuff at this point, but there's so much going on here. 12-player multiplayer sounds really fun. 4-player split screen. Yes, thank you. We need more split screen gaming. I need to be able to play games after the pandemic on a couch with my friends, right? And not to forget, everything we're laying out here is raised up a notch through the quite frankly intimidating power of the Xbox Series X. The team here has made us use of the tools to create an unprecedented level of graphical fidelity and optimized performance. What does this mean for you in Dirt 5? Constant action, greater potential in gameplay, and seeing every speck of mud kick up and splat onto your windscreen. Ah, bliss. All right, so it looks like they're going to have this game come out in autumn. So I'm not 100% sure if this is going to be the smart delivery. I would assume it is, but it's a racing game. It looks pretty. It looks fast. I'd be curious to see if they're going to use VSR. So that's going to be where the pixels and things like that are not rendered the same. We'll see if that actually, how it turns out. All right, guys. So we are going to move on to the next game. Scarlet Nexus, Bandai Namco. So we went from the game that is probably the most generic in my mind to the weirdest one. What the heck? This game looks bizarre in all the best ways. Compared to everything else shown during Inside Xbox, this is unique. I mean, you're fighting what appear to be the hallucinations of a floral designer or a more family-friendly version of the zombies in The Last of Us. Now, this is not, don't get me wrong, this is not showing actual gameplay on the Series X, but what it should look like. We get greeted to some decent music and what they call the others, who apparently can't be hurt and or stopped. By the way, this is all very much traditional Bandai Namco JRPG stylings that you would expect to see. After that, they show off a series of baddies called the Others. There's like an alligator that looks like it's got puffballs. Also, he's a demon. There's all sorts of really cool things. Now, your protagonist shows up to fight what look like the most menacing homecoming mums you've ever seen. And he is psychokinetic, or he has psychokinesis, which, according to Wikipedia, is an alleged psychic ability allowing a person to influence a physical system without physical interaction. I mean, I technically knew that because I was a comic book nerd as a kid, but maybe you need to know these things. Maybe not, because we're kind of all lamers here, right? Anyway, back to the video. You see the protagonist flying through the air with the sword and slamming cars and other various objects into bad guys with purple explosions. It looks a lot like a Platinum-style game, but with the ability to pick up random objects and have them attack with you. You're also apparently teamed up with a group of psionic warriors that must exterminate these beasts. They show some glimpses of larger boss characters that look really fun to fight. Now, out of all the games here, I'm probably most excited about this one. Now, I haven't read this yet, so I'll be excited with you. Here goes. On today, this is by Will Tuttle. So this is the editor-in-chief over at Xbox Wire. So they work together and they kind of know more about these games. So they are making a new RPG franchise coming to the Xbox Series X and Xbox One called Scarlet Nexus. It'll be developed by Bandai Namco Studios. Now, I'm curious, is this an exclusive? That would be an interesting thing to find. Now, it is led by former members of the team that developed the acclaimed Tales of series. I'm excited by that until I see including the iconic Tales of Vesperia. I didn't enjoy Vesperia that much. I'm a bad person. All right. Scarlet Nexus takes place in the far distant future where a psionic hormone was discovered in the human brain, granting people extrasensory powers and changed the world as we knew it. As humanity entered this new era, deranged mutants known as Others began to descend from the sky with a hunger for human brains. Impervious to conventional weapons, those with acute extrasensory abilities known as psionics were our only chance to fight the onslaught from above and preserve humanity. Since then, psionics have been scouted for their talents and recruited to the Other Suppression Force, humanity's last line of defense. In Scarlet Nexus, players will take on the role of Yuto Sumeragi, armed with a talent and psychokinesis, and explore the futuristic city of New Hamuka and uncover the mysteries of a brain-punk future. Ooh, I like that. Brain-punk. Like cyberpunk with psychokinetic concepts. Fun idea. Caught between technology and psychic abilities. With these psychokinetic powers, the world becomes an important ally. Lift, break, and hurl pieces of the environment to build attack combos and lay waste to enemies. The next generation, this is by producer Keti Izuka. He says, the next generation of video game I can't speak today. The next generation of video game home consoles lets the development team realize the full potential of Scarlet Nexus. Players can expect visuals and psychic battles with high resolution and frame rate, along with fully interactive real-time battles with dynamic animation. Utilizing smart delivery on Xbox Series X, good, smart delivery, nice. Also means they can enjoy the best version regardless whether they are playing on the Xbox Series X or Xbox One. Nice. Now, this game does look like it's an in-engine. When you see screenshots of it, there's some things that are low res in places, or low polygon in places. It looks like this is a real game. Scarlet Nexus aims to change the way gamers view Japanese RPGs with a powerful futuristic aesthetic as well as a streamlined combat system that balances fast-paced action with strategic planning, said Stephen Akana, senior brand manager for Bandai Namco. Led by an extremely talented team, including members from fan-favorite titles, Tales of Vesperia, Scarlet Nexus combines years of game development experience with the excitement and creative freedom of the power behind the next generation of console systems. Now, I will be completely happy as long as they don't mention Blastia cores. I got so tired of hearing about Blastia cores in Tales of Vesperia. That's why I stopped playing it, honestly. All right. We are up to the next game. Scorn. All right, so Scorn is a horror game. No gameplay is shown on this. Like, not even a representation of gameplay. The fact that this is in the gameplay debut of the Xbox Series X kind of annoys me. Now we start the video with by this way, this is Scorn by Kowloon Knights and Ebb Software. Now we start the video with what appears to be a very artistically desiccated skull, some musical bombs, and a note at the bottom that says Game and Console in Development, in-engine footage representative of expected Xbox Series X visual quality. Sure, I'm sure it is. As it pans through the rooms and the camera moves around you, you can tell this takes heavy influence from H.R. Geiger, who made, he was the art designer for the Alien movies. Honestly, I thought this was connected to Prometheus when I first saw this. If a person walks in, but you can just see, so in this scene, they're showing this very H.R. Geiger stuff that has some references to some very lewd things going on, essentially. They show a not quite human, but definitely humanoid, which I'm assuming is the protagonist, because right before then, they showed some legs that were all nasty walking up in this alien tomb that's being shown off. Or I guess it's alien tombs, or there's alien bodies being stored, or I can't really tell. But he kind of has this film over his face and eyes like the membrane of a peeled egg, but it's also webbed and really gnarly. Now, there's also some sort of hunchback monster slamming his head against his armor and some lovely flying bedbugs from hell that are shown off randomly. It looks weird. There seems to be some sort of biological interface that you plug into the alien corpses, causing more monsters to pop out. I mean, if you would have told me that this was like an Alien Covenant game or Prometheus like Sidequest, I would have fallen for it. It's just way too similar. Also, there's like no gameplay shown here. So let's see what the devs have to say, because they apparently didn't show it. This is from Danica Herod, Communications and Community Manager at Kowloon Knights. It's been a long time since Ebb Software was founded, and even longer since the idea for Scorn first popped into lead designer Ljubomir Poklar's mind. In 2013, the Serbian studio Ebb Software was founded with the sole purpose of creating a different breed of video games, and Scorn aims to deliver. The team behind the game is excited to share more with you today. Scorn's development began in 2014. When the team was still small, and the next 2 years were spent figuring out which available tools would allow them to make the game the way they wanted to make, and the demo they wanted to present to the publishers, with the help of thousands of backers and additional funding from Kowloon Knights, Ebb Software was finally able to make the game Ljubomir, I think that's it, had in his mind for over a decade become a reality, and it's coming to the Xbox Series X and Windows Store. Still haven't told me anything. Scorn is a first-person, horror adventure, game designed around the idea of being thrown into the world. As players explore the dreamlike world in a non-linear fashion, they will soon learn that every location has its stories, puzzles, and characters. Even the unsettling environment is a character itself. The team has drawn visual inspiration from Swiss painter H.R. Geiger! Yeah, I called it. And Polish painter Zdzisław Beksiński. Conceptual inspiration has come from the works by unique writers like Franz Kafka and Georges Louis Borges. Horror and sci-fi writers like Thomas Ligotti and J.G. Ballard, and the weird cinema of David Cronenberg and David Lynch. Apparently there was an initial teaser trailer in 2016. This game has been in development for a long time, and we don't have any gameplay to show. So is this just like somebody making things and asking for money? Is this like the Dennis Dyack thing, to where they keep like changing gaming engines and never really finish the game? I'm a little concerned, honestly. There's not much shown here. There's no concepts really. It's just art, and granted, the art is good. Don't get me wrong. The design looks cool. Doesn't really look unique, but it looks cool. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead. We're about halfway through. I'm going to take a quick coffee break, and we'll be right back after the short musical interlude. And I'm back. I have some Space Bear coffee today. Just got it in. I'm pretty excited. I get these special monthly coffees in, and I've been waiting on it all day. Space Bear's pretty good. It tastes a little like caramel. Anyway, oh my goodness, did somebody say Turok? No, they didn't. But Second Extinction by Systemic Reaction looks a lot like Turok. Now, at least that's what I first thought. But then there was a squad. So, Squad Turok? No. There are spaceships here. But there are lots and lots of dinosaurs. Earth has fallen shows up. Rally your squad and then kill them all. Yeah, it's a dinosaur extermination crew, apparently. The panned out shots look fantastic. The scenery seems much like Rocky Mountains. Up close, though, I mean, it's nothing all that new in the graphics department. I would imagine the big draw here is going to be the amount of enemies on the screen in high detail because the dinosaurs look cool. They're kind of glowy in places. Also having 4 players simultaneously. Now, there was no HUD, and some clips look like gameplay possibly because you could see like low resolution textures on the ground. That's usually gameplay, but there was also some scenes that definitely looked like bullshot. But let's see what the devs have to say. This is by Brinley Gibson, the lead producer over at Systemic Reaction. Let's see. It is awesome to finally be able to write about Second Extinction and share with you details of what we at Systemic Reaction have been making with our little team in Malmo, located in southern Sweden. Evil mutant dinosaurs have taken over the earth. Evil mutant dinosaurs! They're so evil! Honestly, are dinosaurs really evil, or are they just hungry? And you look like a Lunchable. What would dinosaurs think would be tasty? I don't know, a hamburger? Anyway, that was the pitch email. Okay, so that's a pitch. Creative director of Systemic Reaction gave me when I came by Avalanche Studios group for a job interview. A big grin crept across my face. I knew I had to join and help build the team to make the game. Honestly, okay, I just made fun of it, but if you make a game and that's your pitch, that reminds me of old school gaming. Now, running with that high concept at its core, I love these people already. Second Extinction is a fast-paced co-op shooter elevated by playing with your friends. Although we'd love to see some solo mission runs on Mixer for the truly hardcore. As the dinosaurs took over our planet, some people made their escape to an orbital station set up by a group called the Era. Humanity has licked its wounds and now returns to find out more about this unbelievable enemy. This is where the Extinction War begins. Players pick from a roster of 4 survivors from around the world, a group that will continue to grow after launch. You join up with friends, pick a mission, load out, and then hurtle your way to planetside for your adventure to begin. Once your mission goals have been completed, you'll have to navigate a dangerous extraction in order for you and your teams to make it out alive. Safely back home, you get to use your rewards to purchase new weapons, upgrade them, and get ready to jump back in. Now, we love dinosaurs. Everybody loves dinosaurs, right? But wanted our own take on them for Second Extinction. That explains the glowy things. We had to keep a balance so they were recognizably dinosaurs, but not the cute kind. There's no cuteness allowed in this game, is what I'm assuming. These freaks of nature each have unique traits that require different approaches in combat. How they even exist, the root of the mutations, and their seeming intelligence will be a mystery for players to discover over the coming campaigns. Now, whenever they say coming campaigns with an S, does that mean that they're going to have seasons? Or is this going to be something that unfolds over time? Now, we set out to make a game that could deliver on the spectacle you would expect from our heritage. We wanted a beautiful natural world, a ton of crazy looking enemies on screen. Yep, huge explosions, and as much blood as Nadia, our VFX artist, could pump out. It isn't subtle, nor did we want it to be. Part of the joy of playing this game comes from the intensity of the action, as bombs burst and limbs fly. With systemic reaction being part of the Avalanche Studios groups, we have the huge benefit of building the game using the Apex engine. This may lead many to believe our game will feature a massive open world. Instead, I'd like you to think of Second Extinction's world as more of a big map. So Monster Hunter-esque? As we were working with the melee versus ranged, aka claws versus bullets, we found blending the systemic features of an open world with more traditional level design elements made the combat more interesting and strategic. Evolution was another big touchstone for us. We want the game to be a truly live product, and that meant building a dynamic element into the core experience. This resulted in a unique feature called the War Effort, which we will delve into at a later time. We're a new team of developers from around the world, and we all came together to make Second Extinction our first game. It's been a wild ride so far, getting to know each other as we explored what the game could be. Launch for us is just the beginning, and once we go live, we'll be enriching the feature set as well as dropping regular new content and mixing the game up through each campaign. Okay, so this is a game that won't be finished when it comes out, is what they're saying. It's going to be a game that is online. Whether this is going to be a free-to-play game, we'll see. I was excited. Then they were like being really silly with it. I was even more excited. And then they're like, oh, but there's going to be campaigns, and then we're going to improve things. So I'm always worried whenever they make these kind of co-op games or online games, and they're saying they're going to change things eventually. It's probably the old nerdy gamer in me that way back in the day, we didn't have things like updates. You know, I like having a full game that's actually done whenever it releases. All right, so that is enough on that game. Let's move on without being eaten by dinosaurs. Now, the next game that is up right off the bat... Oh, by the way, it's The Ascent by Curve Digital and Neon Giant. So right off the bat, we're treated with all footage captured in-game and representative of expected Xbox Series X gameplay. So, cool. Now, there is a lot going on at once. They show kind of like a large cyberpunk-inspired scene that looks a lot like the main cities in Blade Runner or The Fifth Element. The 3D scenes shown look also kind of like Shadowrun Chronicles, but in full 3D. Now, there seems to be some sort of forced perspective in the camera, but the lighting effects look top-notch. Now, most of these games, as we've seen, are running ray tracing, so I really can't wait to see this game in 4K and HDR, especially with the neon lights in the town. So once it shows the gameplays, though, my hopes and dreams of a Shadowrun-style CPRG, it just goes away. And it's replaced by what appears to be a 3/4 view shooter or an isometric view, but it's not isometric because it's not hand-drawn. But the game says it's an action RPG, so we'll see if it turns into something like maybe Diablo, which I'd be perfectly fine with. Now, the action looks good, but I could see something like this turning generic really quickly without proper world and character development. There's a lot of shooting. It seems like you can shoot lasers, you got grenades, and all these other things. The action looks good. I'm more interested in the world and the art style, personally. So let's see what Jack Gosling has to say. He's the senior digital marketing manager at Curve Digital. So he says, "Welcome to the Ascent Group, a self-contained metropolis stretching high into the sky and filled to the brim with weird and wonderful creatures from across the galaxy. When the survival of your district is threatened, it's up to you to stop rival corporations and crime syndicates from seizing control by any means necessary." The Ascent is an action RPG that's a real love letter to the sci-fi and cyberpunk worlds many of us have grown up with. Players can explore a range of districts from the deep slums to the higher luxury spheres, loot enemies for upgraded gear, and customize their bodies with a host of slick cyberware. So, sounds interesting, kind of like a Deus Ex modification system. The entire adventure can be played solo or with up to 4 players in local or online co-op. That makes me happy. Now, we've known we have something special in our hands with the Ascent for a long time, so it's a huge relief to finally share it with the world. When Xbox asked us to be part of their Inside Xbox event today, we couldn't say yes fast enough. Planet Veles is one of the many planets around the galaxy run by mega corporations, far larger than anything we have today. And traveling between planets costs a huge amount of resource. The biggest of all these megacorps is the Ascent Group. They own everything and everyone, including you. It does sound a lot like some of those definitely cyberpunk concepts. I'm curious, though, when they're saying that it takes a huge amount of resources to travel between planets, if there's a certain number you have to get together to move from planet to planet. Now, as the game begins, the Ascent Group shuts down for mysterious reasons, causing the city's automated security systems to go haywire and put your entire world at risk. With riots, rival factions, and conspiracy theories spreading like wildfire, it's time to uncover what's really happening before it's too late. Developer Neon Giant may be an indie studio in terms of size. I mean, with 11 people total. Wow, that's actually pretty impressive because the art style is nice. But they're definitely AAA at heart. Pretty on the inside, this company. From brutal FPSs like Wolfenstein to first-party classics like Gears of War, the team has a huge amount of experience squeezing every drop they can from the Unreal Engine. The same goes for the Ascent's destructive environments. Imagine the lobby scene in the Matrix, and you'll get an understanding of Neon Giant's plans. Every gunfight will leave its mark on the environment, from scarred pillars to crumbling buildings. Now, the result is a game that's easily the most visually impressive I've worked on during my time at Curve. From classic sci-fi books to modern-day action games, The Ascent builds a gorgeous world packed with beloved homages and slick skylines to boot. One of the things that sets The Ascent apart from the crowd is the way it blends cyberpunk elements with more traditional sci-fi tropes. Near-future humans mixed with outlandish aliens and densely packed cities where anything is possible. Much like classics Mass Effect and Halo. It's a balance that celebrates its fantasy feel whilst keeping the gameplay grounded and satisfying. So it's going to come to Xbox One and Series X later this year. Hopefully this is also one of those games that you will see get the special, I forgot the name of it, the delivery where you buy it on the One X and then you're also able to play it later on. All right, so next up we have The Medium. Now, Medium is by an interesting name, the Bloober team. In this trailer, we start with a woman getting an ultrasound, and then the scene goes into what appears to be a Gothic-style church. The church and world start to disintegrate and fly away as images of the woman with a knife and blood appear. There might be some interesting, like, psychological imagery going on, but there is absolutely no gameplay here in a gameplay-focused event. It's kind of annoying. This is the second one that does this. Now, they show some footage of the woman running around, being all scared and whatnot afterwards, along with some world changing on the fly. I mean, this works as a movie trailer. That would be fine. But as a gameplay focused event, I'm pretty disappointed with it because I don't really have any clue of what the gameplay is going to be like or how it's going to be. Now, if I remember correctly, these are the people that did the Blair Witch game on the Xbox. So we'll see if it's similar. But maybe Wojciech Pajeko, the lead game designer, will explain it a little bit better in her writing for the game. Now, she says, "There's never one simple truth to what a person will perceive. That is the inspiration behind The Medium, a psychological horror game built around a central motif, how your perspective changes your perception. Each of our games, from Observer to Layers of Fear to Blair Witch," oh, yep, it was Blair Witch, I was right, "has a central theme that drives its creative and technological design. And in the medium, we focus on that. When you change your point of view, you discover new truths far different to what you had originally perceived. To bring this creative theme to life, we've placed players into the role of Marianne, a medium hounded by visions, living and interacting across two worlds, our world and the spirit world. Her visions lead her to an abandoned hotel in Krakow, the site of a terrible tragedy many years ago, hiding a mystery only a medium can solve. With access to both worlds, players will have a wider perspective and discover that there's no simple truth. Immersing players in these two worlds is a score composed by Akira Yamaoka. That's a person that was, Silent Hill music. There are a lot of fans of Silent Hill and the atmospheric music in the game. So they're putting that name up here first. Also, it's going to have the Bloober team's Arkadiusz Rakowski working in tandem to create truly unique atmospheres across each world. Undoubtedly, the medium is one of our largest and most ambitious projects to date, and it is one that we at Bloober Team have wanted to create for some time. Being able to work with the latest hardware in the form of Xbox Series X with 4K resolution, ray tracing technology, and SSD for a single seamless cinematic experience without loading screens has finally enabled us to do this vision justice. So they'll have a couple more surprises, but this is a game that I don't know if we have the release date for just yet. It does say 2020, so hopefully around launch. It looks great. The ray tracing looks good in it. But I mean, it's a horror game. We'll see. We'll see how it really turns out, because I know Rowdy was not too thrilled with the Blair Witch Project, but neither of us are. Well, I guess Rowdy is more of a horror game aficionado than I am. Next up, this one was weird. Now, this is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. I don't know how many more things you can put on here, because it's Vampire, the Masquerade, Bloodlines 2. It's just like too many things going on for me. It's going to be Paradox Interactive and Hardsuit Labs. Now, to be honest, when the video started, I thought we were watching like a sequel to the Joker movie in a video game. The music seems to fit, and there's a guy dancing, and there are people strung up on lines, and their faces, their mouths are like put back in a Joker smile with their teeth exposed and everything. And the music seems to fit along with the dancing, so they're taking apparently some heavy influence there. Bodies are strung up in a creepy smiling faces. What appears, I'm assuming the guy's a charismatic serial killer dancing around a Christmas tree. The graphics look like they're in-game models due to some imperfections you can see in the hair, usually with some, the alpha layering, or the see-through layering on the hair that they try to use on the more flat polygons. Now, I'm pretty sure this is representative of what the game will look like. Lighting effects look good. You also see it shoot over to another person dancing in this office in a similar fashion to the crazy serial killer. And then he wipes blood off the window with his hand. We move forward to some gameplay that shows a mixture of first and third person parkour along buildings. Then it cuts back to a lady going straight up vampire biting somebody on the dance floor. Then it cuts back to the guy using vampire powers in the first person against baddies. It's some things where you see like bats flying everywhere and stuff like that. But then you start dancing at the end. So either this is a new vampire dancing game, or it's Vampire the Masquerade, which, that's what it is. So let's see what the devs actually have to say at this. So this is from Florian Schwarzer, who's the senior project manager for Bloodlines 2. Says that our teams at Paradox Interactive and Hardsuit Labs are thrilled to announce the Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is coming to the Xbox Series X. We're also supporting smart delivery. Hey, that's the term I forgot a second ago. Allowing players to purchase it on the Xbox One, but they'll receive a copy for Xbox Series X. Just kind of a quick aside, this is very similar to what you get whenever you buy a UHD movie nowadays, or if you don't, that is like the 4K Blu-ray movies. They usually come with a regular Blu-ray too. Now, we know that there are a lot of Xbox gamers looking forward to Bloodlines 2, Bloodlines 2, and with smart delivery, you don't have to worry about between choosing which version for their vampire RPG. Finally, we're also revealing cross-generation character saves across Xbox consoles, meaning players who start their journey on Xbox One and then upgrade will be able to continue their story without having to start over. So that's pretty good. There is some nice usage of what I'm assuming is ray tracing going on, that they show an image in a cemetery. You can see the light reflecting off individual blades of grass. It's going to be a pretty nice looking game. Real moody. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is our RPG in the World of Darkness story universe. Set in a dark reflection of our hometown of Seattle, we want to make you feel like a vampire, a monster hiding among humans. You'll meet fascinating characters, competing factions, and get to choose who to support and whose night to wreck. As you uncover more of Seattle's supernatural underbelly, you'll decide how to grow and what being a vampire means to you. So, what is this? Almost like a vampire goes out and finds himself. Maybe it'll be a romantic comedy. I doubt it. But there will be dancing, apparently. All right, so that is that game. It looks good. It looks well done, and there is a large group of people that are fans of that. So we have 2 more games to look at. Next one is Yakuza Like a Dragon by Sega. Now, I'll admit, I'm not super familiar with the Yakuza games. I guess I know there's some on Game Pass that I need to play, so I'm just going to tell you a bit about what the game looks like, and then we'll say what the devs say. Now, first up, these look like in-game models and scenery. Now, I've seen the Yakuza games, and they've never really been anything spectacular in the graphics department. The people look oddly disjointed and unnatural to me, but with a really nice fancy texturing and shaders put on. We're treated to some cutscenes and what appears to be a baseball bat version of the Sword in the Stone being pulled out of the ground. I think it's Negan's bat too. Wait, there was a random crawfish. I'm confused now. Now there's lasers, there's aliens. Okay, maybe I need to play this game. I have no clue what's going on. The devs, though, are going to have to take over for me. Maybe they can make sense of the crawfish and more. Yakuza Like a Dragon, an explosive new entry point in the acclaimed Yakuza series, will be releasing as a launch title on the next-gen Xbox Series X, with simultaneous releases on Xbox One and Windows 10. Now, this is Jonathan Stiebel, the communications manager at Sega of America. We're also excited to announce that Yakuza Like a Dragon will support smart delivery. So we already know what that means. I'm not going to read that. There will be cross-save functionality between the One and the Series X. So if you upgrade, it's all good. Now, at its core, this game is an underdog story about fighting for what you believe in, even when you're up against impossible odds. You'll step into the shoes of Ichiban Kasuga, a low-ranking grunt of a low-ranking Yakuza family betrayed, alone, and left on the brink of death by the man he trusted the most. This is set in modern-day Yokohama, Japan. You'll fight your way up from the rock bottom in dynamic RPG combat as you gather a party of misfits from the outskirts of society, each with their own deep backstory and motivations. Level up 19 different quote-unquote jobs, far from traditional RPG fare. Ichiban isn't a warrior or a mage, but he can be a bodyguard, a musician, or even a chef. Each job has completely unique strength and skills. You can mix and match to find the right setup for any encounter. That sounds like fun, actually. Do I have fancy chopping skills, or can I do a bard with an awesome solo that intimidates people? Kind of sounds like a Dungeons and Dragons thing there a little bit. Okay, now, Yakuza Like a Dragon has far more than just action and drama. Yokohama truly comes alive as you explore and discover a seemingly endless supply of hilarious minigames and sub-stories spread throughout the city. Now, that does sound like other Yakuza games. They are a little odd. Take a break from cracking skulls with a few songs at the karaoke parlor, or visit one of the Sega arcades around the city. There's always something new to uncover. Stay tuned in the upcoming months for the release, for information about the release of Yakuza. So it's going to be a day one launch on the Xbox Series X. Nice. They're going to tell us more about gameplay details, jobs, skills, recruitable party members, minigames, sub-stories, and everything else you encounter in the journey. Fancy. All right, we are down to the last one. Now, I was really excited to get more information on this, and I'm a little disappointed. I think it's going to be a good game. So, Assassin's Creed Valhalla by Ubisoft. So I was expecting gameplay footage. I think we saw some. So right at the beginning, we stare at the protagonist's eyes as it states that its footage is representative of expected Xbox Series X gameplay. I kind of feel like, though, they're giving me the, no, seriously, believe me face when somebody is telling you a lie, you know? So anyway, so what's going on? Right off the bat, we have a large Norse-style house with a, I don't know if it's a house as much as it is a religious site or if it's a place for a somebody that runs the town. It seems pretty large. But it has Aurora Borealis going on in the background, and it looks like it could be from the game. Having played about a dozen hours or so of Odyssey recently, this does look like it's absolutely possible in game. Because on the Xbox One X, that game looks fantastic. And I'm actually pretty surprised with what they can do. They also show multiple scenes of the interior of houses and really some spectacular looking areas of Stonehenge and other monuments. Time is sped up to show you the ray traced lighting in the game. Now, I'm curious to see, they're incorporating ray tracing pretty heavily in this game. Are we going to see that in the PlayStation 5 version in the same fashion? Because, you know, as you know, the Series X has its own dedicated ray tracing module, whereas the PS5 might not be able to run it on that kind of level. It's pretty fantastic looking, honestly. Now, let's see. You see the character run up and jump off of an enemy right after that, which I'm not 100% sure if it's gameplay, but it's really not that far off from what you'd see in Odyssey. The scenes that they do show some assassinations and shooting a bow and arrow appear to use in-game assets in the background. You can kind of tell that they're not as clean looking as the character. But once again, no HUD. So this could all be bullshot, right? It might not be real gameplay footage. It could be just made to look like that. Now, there is a stark contrast between Odyssey and Valhalla and the main character's design that I'm hoping is legit with the game. Now, don't get me wrong. Odyssey is an absolutely beautiful game, but it occasionally hits that uncanny valley due to the shade flickering on the faces, the teeth being a bit off, and the animations being a little off at times, like it's a animatronic. But it's really close. Okay, but they're just going so close to realism, you can definitely see when things are little robotic. So they have made this character look really excellent. Like they have really good human models in Valhalla for the main characters, and you can see dynamic clothing physics during fighting scenes so far. We'll see if that's really going to happen, and whenever you change armor, is it going to be as good looking, so to speak, because they slow down a lot of the action. You can really see some of that showing. Now, out of all the games I wanted, this is what I really wanted to see gameplay for. We get a better concept than games like Scorn and The Medium, but it doesn't really show us how the raids will work or fights progress. So still disappointment here. They might have shown maybe a couple seconds of in-game footage, which is more than the actual initial trailer, but it's still far from the juicy steak of gameplay they promised us. I don't even know if it was a Lunchable of gameplay in this one. All right, here goes. This is from Michael Raparez. He's the editor at Ubisoft. Assassin's Creed Valhalla first look gameplay trailer has arrived with fighting, feasting, and peeks at the world you'll be able to explore when the game arrives this holiday season on Xbox Series X and Xbox One. Taking players to the Viking Age, Assassin's Creed Valhalla puts you in the role of Eivor, or Eivor. It's Eivor, a Viking raider and clan leader, to forge a saga that stretches from the cold reaches of Norway to the lush plains of England, beginning with shots of blue eyes and a Norse temple silhouetted against the northern lights. Okay, so I was right. It was a Norse temple. Or at least that was my guess. The trailer shows us Vikings feasting in a longhouse, a statue of Thor, and a close-up of the hidden blade Eivor will carry into battle. We're then treated to a detailed view of Viking tattoos, which you'll be able to customize him with, before Ivor's longship cuts through snowy waterways while his raven follows overhead. Okay, so if you listened last episode, I freaked out a little bit whenever I saw there was a raven involved, because I'm a huge fan of Age of Mythology, and I always played as Odin. And I had ravens. The ravens of Odin will return. Super excited about that. Now, as the scene shifts to England, we get a picturesque view of the landscape centered on a mysterious obelisk. Actually, it's a Viking altar. An armored warrior hoists a banner with a rampant red dragon. Time passes rapidly over a cairn-covered hillside, and we glimpse contrasted Christian and Viking altars before being greeted with the imposing sight of Stonehenge. Now, I do like that they're explaining what we really saw in this video. It's just giving me a little more depth. And it's not as fluffy as what we saw, or what they wrote about with Dirt 5. Now, with the scene set up, we see the warriors of Alfred, King of Wessex, assembled amid torchlight before their monarch steps into view. Then it's time to begin the assault, as Eivor leaps from his longship, rallies his troops with a horn, and launches himself knee first into a Saxon soldier's face. Cut to the siege machinery being wheeled toward a Saxon fortress, and Eivor launching himself into another enemy, this time with a flying tackle and a finishing blow. While Assassin's Creed Valhalla features a new dual-wielding combat system that allows for some particularly brutal takedowns, not all of its combat is close quarters. We next see Eivor firing a bow towards a ballista perched on a fortress wall, after which the Vikings' battering ram smashes into its gate, and Eivor leads the charge inside. We then get a glimpse of another aspect of the new combat system. Eivor can throw axes at enemies. Yeah. Reminds me, we have a Renaissance festival out here in Texas that we drove to. Was it last fall? And yeah, in October. And I got to do some axe throwing. It was really fun. Need to do that again. Hopefully they have that again this fall. We'll see if we'll be able to go this year. It was a blast. So if you've never been to a Renaissance festival before, or you have heard about the one in Texas, y'all need to drive out there and try it out. You can pretend to be Vikings and throw axes. I mean, how cool is that? All right. As Eivor surveys the flaming destruction, we see a close-up of the same blue eyes that began the trailer. Ivor's eyes, which shut slowly, almost warily. We then close on a shot of Ivor's raven as it perches on his shoulder, clearly ready to launch into the sky at a moment's notice, and, like Hugin and Munin, faithful ravens of the Norse god Odin, provide Eivor with a clearer view of the world around them, which is very similar to Odyssey. So, that's all they really have for us. They just tell us to sharpen our axes and get them ready to sail to new lands in holiday 2020. So this looks like it's going to pull a lot from Odyssey. Now, we did report on the last episode that it is going to be smaller in scale and size in general than Odyssey is. They're going to be a little more focused, because Odyssey is this sprawling giant area. I would imagine you're going to have this kind of... I wouldn't imagine you travel all the way from Norway out to northern England and actually ride in your boat from there like you would in Odyssey, going from island to island throughout Greece. So we'll see how that goes. It looks absolutely fantastic. The graphics that they're showing and the still shots, you can actually see some in-game shots over at news.xbox.com, and you look up the Assassin's Creed gameplay. Just kind of looking at the stills, it looks pretty close to what they're showing in engine. Maybe a little more pixelated, but not by much. So this is going to be a good one. I'm super excited because they had a massive Assassin's Creed sale, and I'm playing all these games before Valhalla comes out, or at least I'm going to try. I know Rowdy is, and he'll actually do it. I'm not as good at finishing games. So, what are my thoughts on Inside Xbox? Well, I'm a bit disappointed. And I've kind of let y'all know this throughout. They really promised us a lot more than they gave us, and this is the general consensus online. But, I mean, were you really expecting them to show everything? No. However, I mean, you might have because, well, we've seen the inside of the Xbox Series X. They've kind of taken that thing apart and let people build it. So maybe they pushed back a little bit more because we know a lot of these companies are not doing very well working from home, not really getting their games wrapped up and finished. So this could have a few less things than we expected. There were quite a lot of indies that were being shown in here. I'm surprised they didn't show Cyberpunk any, but we still have quite a ways to go. It is the 5th month of the year, and we are expecting in about 6 short months, guys, we should see the Xbox Series X. And I think they're going to make that time frame. Just kind of a quick note, they are making the GPU and CPU, from what I understand, in Malaysia, which has not been hit by COVID-19 as hard. So, and I know they're ramping up PS5 CPUs. I'm still a little worried about the PS5, but I think the Series X, we're getting here in a bit. All right, guys, that is it. Let me know if there's anything that you want to hear about that I missed in the next episode. Also, throw out a big thanks to Parallax Media for sharing this with everybody. And, if you're watching on YouTube, put a like down, subscribe, and we will see you next time on the Lamer Gamers podcast. You guys have a great day.